Afternoon, everyone. Nice to see you. Happy Thursday. This is Rebecca and Dr. Alex from Homeopathy
Okay.
United, and we're here to talk with you today about ailments from cold and frost. Hey, Dr. Alex, how are you?
I'm good. I'm very good.
Excellent. Excellent.
Not very cold. Well, cold, but very wet and damp. So,
Yeah,
not
you don't get to
exactly.
complain about cold.
Well, it's cold for
Not
our
compared to
standards.
here.
It's very cold for our standards. Look up.
Well, that's true. For London, it is quite chilly, but I was I sent you a snapshot this morning, and today was the first day I dug out my fleece-lined Carhartts. And any farmer in Maine or in the US will know what I'm talking about. Typically, I can just run out to the barn in my pajamas. That was not the case today. It was definitely too cold for that. So,
It's
speaking of
beautiful there.
cold,
It's
we're
very
going to
beautiful
talk,
there.
yeah, we're going to talk about cold stuff today. So let's see if I can find my way through all of this. Hey, look at that. So today we are going to talk about cold and frost, ailments from cold and frost. And you were so gracious about pulling this together. Thank you.
Well, it's beautiful over there. It's very beautiful. So, and it's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. I lost you.
No, you haven't.
I haven't lost you?
No, I'm here.
Okay. Well, that's good. Oh, there you are. Okay, fabulous. Nope, still not working. I just continue to be amazed by this technology.
Well, it's not only you.
True statement. So once I can get back there, I will share with everybody if I can figure it out. Yeah.
It's okay. We can appreciate the beautiful views you have from
Yeah, from the
your
front
house.
porch. Yeah, this was everything was sparkly the other day because it was so wet and cold from the snowstorm that we had, and then everything froze and stuck to the trees. And this was yesterday morning when the sun was really coming out and sharing its sparkles. So let's jump right in. The first remedy that we're going to talk about today is Euphrasia.
So all the remedies that we're talking about today they basically have a common thread, which is ailments from cold. So when there is a sudden change in temperature or it has been cold, but the animals are outside in the field, so they are exposed to more cold than usual. Or sometimes they don't feel well in themselves for some reason, and so the cold gets to them. And this is the first remedy. So Euphrasia is very used in common colds. And how do we differentiate this remedy from all the other remedies that we have in our Materia Medica that address ailments from cold? Is that Euphrasia has a very normal watery discharge from the nose, but at the same time, they are tearing. So they have watery discharge from the eyes as well. So they have lacrimation. And this lacrimation usually is not a blend lacrimation. The eyes might be slightly pink. The eyes are painful, and so you see them with a watery discharge from the nose, lacrimation from the eyes. It's a bit excoriating, the lacrimation, so the corners and the areas around might be, if you pull them down, slightly pink. And you can even see in some animals, especially if it is cold, like in the first photo, with snow, where the snow reflects the light, the animals will avoid the light. They will be slightly photophobic or very photophobic. So they will blink and they will try to turn away from intense light because the eyes basically hurt. So that's how we differentiate Euphrasia from any other remedy for colds.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. And I think Euphrasia is one of those first remedies. We've talked about it. We did a video series earlier in the summer on eyes, and Euphrasia is often one of the first remedies to reach for when there is an eye issue. And there was some outline in that video as well, if you want a little refresher, if anybody wants a little refresher on Euphrasia.
Conjunctivitis, you know, it's also a very good remedy for that.
Yes. So the next remedy is Pulsatilla. And I always think of Pulsatilla as that whiny, clingy child. And you did say that the animals can be clingy as well. And I've definitely seen that with animals that aren't feeling well and they're really needing your attention. But the colds with an acute, bland, slimy yellow or yellowish green discharge and being clingy and whiny are two of the things that you'll definitely see with Pulsatilla.
Yeah, the other thing is that the discharge might look exactly like the discharge in the horse in the picture. So it's not watery. It's going to be thick or more creamy or more creamy than a watery discharge. It can be just yellow or yellow greenish. And the other thing you might notice is that the animal might have a weird or a bad breath in the morning, and then it goes away. But if you go to the stables very early in the morning, you might notice that they have a slightly, a bit of a foul odor from the mouth, which disappears during the day. And of course, they will be more clinging than usual. Either they will cling to a mate or a companion. Horses usually are not alone, or they shouldn't be anyway, or to the owner. Being, if it is a dog, it will follow you like your shade. If it is, a cat, or, goats will cling to other goats. And that's how you
differentiate that.
Pulsatilla.
Yeah,
Pulsatilla is also more for a ripe cold. You will not notice a Pulsatilla immediately. It's not going to be on the first day of the cold.
So you said ripe.
Yeah.
As in it's a full-blown cold. Yeah. It's not the first day where they might seem a little off or what have you. This is they are completely in the cold state.
Euphrasia, the first remedy, it's it can be immediately the moment they get a cold. You might see it the next day. With Pulsatilla, it's a ripe cold.
Okay, fantastic. So, great distinction. Thank you.
Third day, yeah.
So the next remedy is Calibi, and I always think of this when somebody says, I have green slime coming out of me, or my animal has green slime or something. And so this picture is just perfect.
Okay, so with Calibi, it's going to be more thick, more viscid than the Pulsatilla. So if you put a paper or you remove the nasal discharge, and if you open the paper, it might make like a bit of gluey, like a bit of strings from one side to the other. But the main way to differentiate is that there is a shine. It's going to be more glary, I think, more shiny than the Pulsatilla discharge. Also, they usually have, bouts of violent sneezing. And
with violent sneezing, they often have discharge with that too, like a lot with the Calibi, if I remember right. And this is really like a stage 3 remedy is what sticks in my mind. As far as timing goes, this may be quite late into the cold where, you might have started with Euphrasia, but you may have to move to Calibi if the Euphrasia didn't do the job. And this is the remedy picture that you end up with.
Yes, sometimes if the animals are prone to sinusitis, you can see it immediately on the second day or third day. But again, it's going to be a ripe cold.
Mm-hmm.
And what you see in animals is that they will mark their territory more than usual.
Yeah, I thought that was fascinating. How does that show up for people with regard to that in Calibi? I was like,
no, with people, I don't think they will give. People don't mark their territory. No. Well,
okay.
you hope they don't.
I wondered, like, how do we rep that or how do we repertorize that in our system? And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. Are boys going around peeing on the fences or? You never know.
Nails, we don't know.
You never know. Yeah, that did give me a chuckle though.
The issue is that they with people, what you see is that they need to establish their boundaries. So you might see them arguing more in order to keep their boundaries or not to let other people take advantage of them, or they don't want to be the scapegoat with humans.
Okay, so that's great. That's a good distinction. Thank you.
How they go about it.
So the next remedy, we've actually used this slide once before. I think it was for cell salt, but Hydrastis. And I always think of Hydrastis because of postnasal drip. And you might not see that or recognize that in an animal. But if their nose is running and they have this very thick yellow viscid discharge, again, with the thick yellow, when it's impossible, you're recommending that you can go back and forth in alternation between Calibi and Hydrastis?
Yeah, because the thing is that they both have thick yellow and it can be even on the verge of green. Hydrastis will be more stringy, is even more viscid than Calibi. But of course, with animals, it's very difficult to distinguish. And it's also not as glary as it is with Calibi. The other thing is that they can have, you can hear a lot of catarrh in their lungs. So again, it is a very ripe cold that is getting down in the respiratory tract. Is not so much, upper respiratory system. Now it's going down into the lungs, and you can hear, mucus and rattling in the lungs. Of course, that can happen as well with Calibi. Mm-hmm. But with Hydrastis, they tend to be constipated. Again, in an animal, it's very hard to tell. And especially if they live out in the barn. So if you see this type of discharge, and you cannot make a distinction between Calibi and Hydrastis, the best thing, never give two remedies at the same time.
Right. Don't give them at the same time. Alternate. Even if it's a couple of hours apart, give one and then
No, it needs to be a couple of hours apart.
right, and give one and then wait a couple of hours.
Yeah,
And before you give the next one, see if anything's changed. We often find that when we're working with clients, doesn't matter if it's people or animals, that they'll say the first thing out of their mouths is nothing's changed. And then when we go through the list and say, okay, well, what about this? Oh, well, that's different. And what about that? Oh, well, that's gone. So it's important when we are treating our animals individually or, at home, that you kind of write some notes so that you can remember, oh yeah, well, they weren't really eating yesterday, but today they have an appetite and they're drinking again, so that you can kind of follow the remedy picture, because it can change and it can be very subtle when you don't have a clear picture, when you don't have it written down. So that's important as well.
Yeah, and when we say give in alternation, because you don't know which one is the remedy, and it's not just because you don't know, many times we don't know as well, this is the best route, but don't make it as a protocol. They said go in alternation and we alternate. No, you give one, you wait a couple of hours, 2-3 hours, and then you see if there is a definite change, like you mentioned, the animal was not eating and now it has an appetite, or it had, his energy was very lethargic and now is much more up and going, then you stick to that remedy.
That's
you
right.
Don't keep the alternation.
Right. Yeah, until you get the desired effect, and then you stick with that remedy, because that's the one that's going to lead them to health. So the next remedy is Napmure. This is another one of my favorites. So many times people have said, oh, I get this horrible water just keeps pouring out of my nose. And I'm so thirsty, but my nose is so dry. And Napmure it's salt. So it's such a fascinating remedy, and it's so deep acting. So with bouts of sneezing, you can see that in the Calibi, but in Napmure, it's water that's coming out. It's just like a faucet running.
And yes and no. Most Napmure, the main keynote is that the snot is the consistency
of raw
egg white.
Yeah.
So of raw egg white. Raw egg white, it's not exactly like water. It's more like a jelly, a light jelly. But if you put it on a paper and you open the paper, it will not glue.
Right.
It
when you stick to the other side, it soaks in. Exactly. Like if you use a paper towel, then it soaks in. Yes.
Yeah, it soaks, but it has a bit of jelly on it. Okay. It's exactly the consistency of egg white. Yes, and they need to be thirsty. If they are not thirsty, it's not Napmure.
And there
are many other remedies for cold,
Sure.
We have Ailments, we have many others.
Yes.
With watery discharge, or snot. But
the thirst is what you're looking for. And it always amazes me that your nose can have this watery discharge and yet still feel dry. And that's a very clear indication of Napmure.
Yeah, for humans. It's not going to tell you I'm feeling dry, but it's going to drink a lot.
Right.
Or more than normal.
And then the next remedy is Aconite. And I love this picture. I remember so many times as a kid coming out and finding my horse and all of his whiskers just covered in ice, because they're sticking their face. And I think about the geese too. They stick their face in the cold water buckets. Even if you have heated water buckets, they only bring them up to the temperature where the water doesn't freeze. And then of course they're pulling their face out and their face is getting all covered in icicles.
Yeah. So this is the first stage. It's definitely not for a ripe cold.
Right.
And it's when the weather changes and we have these dry north winds, which freeze everything. And
Yes.
that's why.
And this can happen in the summer too for animals. If there is a rapid drop in temperature with a very dry, cold wind that comes through, and all of a sudden, it's very sudden with aconite. I watched this, I think the very first time I treated anybody with aconite was my son, and he had been out playing in the snow, and the temperature dropped very quickly, and he got really chilled. And he came in and he was just flat and he felt terrible. And I gave him a dose of aconite, and an hour later he was up running around. And my husband was just like, wow, that was impressive. So it's really wonderful when you can pinpoint the right remedy based on what they've been doing, what they've been exposed to, and what you're seeing with the symptom picture. So the restlessness, anxiety, and panting is interesting.
So with people, not so much. I mean, with dogs, I mean, if the animals are living inside of the house, you can check this, but the animals and people will be restless, and usually it peaks between 11 a.m. and midday, or 11 p.m. and midnight. And again, as you were saying, the child or the person might be absolutely fine all day long, and then suddenly, at around 11 o'clock, they wake up and they are with a fever, and usually a high fever. It's not on the 37s and a half, which I don't know in Fahrenheit what it translates. But
I'll tell you.
It will be a serious fever. It will be on the 38s and above.
Yeah.
And yeah, they eat, they have dinner, they go to bed, and a couple of hours later they are with a fever and really restless. And so Aconite is fantastic for any initial stage of febrile conditions or inflammatory conditions. It might not be fever, it might be another inflammation.
Yeah.
But that's the remedy you go
to. 39 Celsius is 102 Fahrenheit. So that's a very significant fever. 37 Celsius is our normal, 98.6. So really when you're 101 or 102 or just, and it comes on very, very quickly. Aconite is, and they've been out in a cold wind, this is a great place to start. So I asked Dr. Alex to pull this one in because there's a lot of talk, and this picture is the pad of a dog foot, right? So frostbite. So share your thoughts around this, and then I want to talk a little bit about poultry and frostbite.
Okay, so basically, again, suddenly we have snow, especially if our pets that are used to live indoors and they go outdoors for long walks and there is ice and there is snow and it's very cold conditions, and they get frostbite in their paws, or it can be anywhere else, usually
their ears, their face,
their ears or their face. And what happens is that there will be itching and burning. Of course, it's not going to tell you that, but they will lick. And being a cat or being a dog, being a bunny, they will lick. And when you go and you inspect, there is a lot of redness, and it will, and if you touch, it will feel hot, and it will be swollen as well. You can see the edges there in the interdigital areas. It's really swollen and red. So, and you can see again there in the pad that it's gone, the skin. It's really a big abrasion. So, and the other thing that it's quite noticeable is that the animals will be walking almost as if they are drunk. They will stumble on everything that is in their way. Their walk will not be steady, and it will not be that they will be limping because of the pain. They will feel wobbly, or they will look wobbly, because they are almost like in a drunkard state.
Right.
They stumble, they trip.
Well, and this is
The
where
other thing that you can confirm the remedy is by touching their spine.
Yeah, that was fascinating. I've never heard that rubric before.
The spine it will be very sensitive to touch, because of course, the nerves are into a hyper state. So the spinal cord will be
very sensitive.
For Agaricus, we have other remedies. I mean,
sure. For frostbite, we definitely do.
Frostbite, etc.
One of the reasons I wanted to talk about Agaricus today was also because of the chickens. So at this time of year, I've had several people ask me recently, should I put heat in my coop? As soon as we start to feel cold outside, everybody thinks, oh, our animals can't handle it. And so with chickens, they can handle things down to like 5 degrees. And, people really think that they're going to turn into popsicles, but they don't. But one of the most important things when you're keeping chickens is that you need to make sure that there's airflow in their coop, in the top, that you have some venting so that the air can actually flow through. And people think, oh, they're going to get cold because all the heat goes up. But actually, it's very important so that you avoid moisture, because the moisture is often what causes the frostbite on their combs and their feet and their wattles too. With the roosters that have really big wattles, I've seen them turn black because of frostbite before. And it's because people will keep heated water bowls in the coop, or just water in general, if it's warm enough to keep water in the coop, and it creates moisture and there's not enough of ventilation. And so the other important thing for the chickens and the roosters is to have a wide enough roost so that when they settle down for the night, when they roost, they can squat and fully cover their feet with all of their feathers. If they can do that, then their feet are safe. So you want to make sure that they have a space that's conducive to allowing them to huddle, because I'll come in. I went into the coop the other day. I think it was the day that we had the snowstorm here in Maine. And our smallest chicken will shove herself up under the rooster. And he's like barely hanging on to the roost, and she's like, no, don't leave me, it's cold. she's not quite built for the cold the way that he is. So they should be able to huddle. They should not have too much moisture in the coop. You want to be very sensitive to that. You want to make sure that there is ventilation. And if you do see their comb or their wattle or their feet very red and swollen and they're hot, then think of Agaricus for that. If you see black, if you see, where the damage has gotten to be very aggressive very quickly, then please reach out and do an acute, because we do have amazing remedies for frostbite. Agaricus is not the one and only, but it's a very good place to start when you have red, swollen, and hot parts.
And on that note as well, it is important to say that for, not in the UK, but where there are a lot of stray animals and the
Mm.
temperatures drop, don't go and put a towel over them, because exactly for the same reason as the chicken. They have snow on them, and then with the towel it will melt, and then the freezing temperature comes and everything is going to be icicle. So if you can actually make more damage. So if you see an animal that needs, either you bring it inside, and if you cannot bring it inside, then just put it in a very sheltered area full of straw and
Of
full
straw,
of
yes.
hay,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
or wood
don't
shaven.
use
Don't use
towels,
towels.
and
Yeah.
even not just on them, but also under them. Like if you have a cat carrier or a small dog house or something outside, it's best not to put towels in there. You think, oh, that's going to absorb the snow if they go in from, you know, in and out of the cold. But the problem is those things hold the water, they hold the damp. So exactly what you're saying, it does end up doing more damage than not. So yes, thank you for that reminder. That's really important. So we really want to thank everybody, and we just want to put a reminder out there to take care of yourself. You have to take care of all these animals. So take care of yourself. Make sure you eat well and move around and get enough sleep, and put on your Carhartts and not your pajama bottoms when you go out when it's 11 degrees. Your health is very important, and staying energized and ready to tackle whatever challenges may come. And with the holidays, there's lots of challenges. With the snowstorms, there's lots of challenges. Winter always proves to be an exciting time. And we really want to thank everyone. We're grateful to be of service, and we're grateful to share this information with all of our members, and we appreciate you sharing this with your friends and inviting people. We have put our videos on YouTube. We're going back through the catalog and adding things, and we also have an Instagram account, so you'll see the slides on the Instagram account. And I do try to post these on our Homeopathy United page in Facebook, as well as the YouTube and Instagram. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for connecting with us, and thanks for sharing everything that you do and sharing your animals with us. We wish you all the very best for the holidays. We may not see you again until 2024. And we've, for those of you that aren't familiar, we do have another group that we are admins of. It is skin conditions, eczema, and homeopathy. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll jump on really quick and show folks. So if you or anybody in the family has issues with psoriasis or rashes or hives or
urticaria, any skin condition, really.
Yeah, impetigo, we've had some cases of that lately. Please consider coming and finding us on that group. But I think what we're going to do is we are going to start sharing that. We're going to start doing videos on that group going forward as well. And we're going to alternate between the two. So we will post that for everybody. As we get closer, we're going to start doing that in 2024. So we'll alternate on Thursdays between those two groups. Sorry, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you, Dr. Alex. I'm so grateful for all of your wisdom and sharing all of these cases with you. Such a pleasure.
Pleasure. Do you think it's easy for it to quickly show the banner of the skin group?
Yeah, let me see if it's so funny, because I think the
Maybe,
algorithm on
maybe it won't allow.
On Facebook has started. So it's skin conditions, comma, eczema,
and homeopathy.
And homeopathy. Let's see if that group will pop up. Nope, doesn't like me today. So, oh, wait, I just saw it. Here it is. Let me share my page once again. Just 1 second. Thank you, everybody, for being patient and letting us share this information. So this is Skin Conditions, Eczema, and Homeopathy. Dr. Alex and I also are admins of this page. And we did put a post on here today that in 2024, we're going to start alternating on Thursdays with you folks and with this page. So hopefully you'll join us there if you want to learn a little bit more about that, and look for our newsletter, which we're going to be sending out in the next few days as well. And we'll be sure to share that with everybody that's included their email. So thank you, everyone. Happy holidays. Bye,
Happy
Alex.
holidays. And I'll see you soon.
You will?
I'm excited.
Me too. Bye, everyone.
Bye.